we are conducting webinars and seminars to create awareness about biochar. R.K. Mehta is our guide for all these events and all the traction, whatever we have gained. Now I request Mehtaji to tell a few words about biochar and his journey till date. Thank you.
Yes. अरे साहब आप इंट्रोड्यूस करना है?
हाँ नहीं सर आप बोलिए मैं बाद में कुशाल जी को
Okay.
Yeah, you tell about PBS.
I have pleasure in welcoming all the participants today. It is a very important subject that there is a source of income available for the farmers and the promoters from an extraordinary source called the carbon credit. And this income is a foreign exchange income coming into India. So we must exploit it to maximum. And I'm sure all the participants are eager to hear our Kaushal ji, what he has to talk about. Because biggest question is, what type of equipment should be used? Somebody says certified equipment only should be used. So that is the doubt to be cleared now. Thank you very much. We look forward to hearing from him. Yeah, over to you, RFG.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mehtaji. So today's webinar topic is very interesting and new one. All participants are eagerly waiting. So the topic is promising opportunities of biochar and earning carbon credits income with biochar projects. The speaker is Shri Kaushal Singh Bisht. So he is very expert in case of this biochar promising opportunities and earning how the carbon credits will be earned income with the biochar projects. So now I will go through this bio profile of the Kaushal Bisht. So Kaushal Singh Bisht heads partnership and strategic alliances at Varha, a nature-based solution carbon project developer. An alumnus of IIT Kharagpur and IIM Ahmedabad, Kaushal ji previously worked at a UPL as a value chain lead Asia Pacific, where he led end-to-end food value chain projects with major crop players. His focus main areas included crop planning, planting, soil and seed, crop establishment and crop development, market linkages, and carbon markets. He has also worked in the fresh produce export sector for 5 years. At Varha, Kaushal is responsible for partnering with the FPOs, NGOs, and agri-input output players to help smallholders to transition from conservation practices to regenerative agriculture practices, agroforestry, and biochar production. So his bio profile is very strong. And now I hand over Kaushal Singh Bisht to take over the presentation. Sir, any more if you add anything, Kaushal ji? You can add 1 or 2 points if I have forgotten any points.
Yeah, no, sir. I think this is good.
Yes, welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for inviting me for this opportunity today to speak to all of you biochar enthusiasts. And I will be happy to share some of key learnings which we have developed over the last 3 years of our journey in producing biochar and then creating carbon outcomes from it. Before I go ahead and then deep dive into biochar particularly, it's important for me to basically give you a context on what Varaha as a company does and how it was conceived. It's basically the starting idea was not biochar, to be honest. It was regenerative agriculture and with Punjab Haryana in focus. Punjab Haryana in focus largely. Is it better now? Sorry, I think people are facing difficulty hearing me out. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir, a bit loud.
Okay. How about now?
No, fine. Now fine.
It's correct.
Okay, sure.
Fine.
Sure. So we started as a regenerative agriculture company, specifically working into paddy value chain. Paddy value chain is in the residue burning problem in Punjab, Haryana, UP, around Delhi NCR. How can we solve that? Basically started working with super seeder machines to incorporate this residue back to soil, building soil organic carbon. Then also expanded into agroforestry plantations, wherein we, for degraded lands, we started planting trees But eventually, we realized that as an extension of our work into regenerative agriculture and agroforestry, we have access to a lot of biomass, right? And over and above parali as a biomass, we realize that there are much more amount of biochar, which basically can be produced in terms of doing carbon action, and hence this is what our gateway entry point for biochar was in the end of year around 2022, and this is how we started doing biochar. Now, I mean, you guys all know about biochar and the benefits of it, so I'll skip that particular portion, and I'll want to share some practical use cases in terms of what exactly is required for creating a carbon program on biochar, right? What all elements are important, and buyers in the market are looking for what, right? I mean, what exactly you want to do, and how do you prove this is something which I will focus much more time for. So I'll request your time to share my screen. Just let me know when you guys are able to see my screen. Is my screen visible?
It's visible now.
Sir, visual, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sure.
Right. Clear, clear.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said, I mean, I'll skip this particular portion. What biochar, why biochar, you already know it. For us, uh, it is important for everybody to know that I mean, pyrolysis and gasification, both as technologies are basically getting followed across the world, and there have been a range of technologies which basically we are seeing all across the world cropping up. Our focus so far, I mean, we understand that there is basically some benefit to each approach, right? There are quantificants which basically make biochar on the ground but have associated methane emission risks. Um, but quantificant biochar production for specifically use cases wherein biomass is getting burned in the farm is still additional, right? Whatever you sequester is basically still makes sense for every kg of that particular biochar which you produce is additional, right? And hence a very positive climate action. But there are larger buyers who basically showcase their reservations to buy carbon outcomes from quantity-based skins, right? Which basically is flame curtain pyrolysis processes. So because of the methane associated methane emissions coming out, large buyers are not associating or not willing to buy from such carbon projects at the moment. But there is a number of buyers who basically understand how this still empowers local rural economy while making sure the residue burning on the farm is going down and a positive climate action is still achieved. So they are still enough demand in the market, which basically can sustain a few million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent removals in the world through this mechanism as well. Then there is an upper end of it, which is basically through a gasification or a pyrolysis chamber with co-locating it with some large-scale industry. You basically bring biomass, gasify it, convert it into syngas and biochar. Use the syngas for energy purposes. You can produce electricity, steam, or whatever you want to do, and then the biochar, resulting biochar, you can basically use for soil amendment, and then you can also create carbon program over it as well. So that is the second end of
Sorry
the.
to interrupt.
Yeah.
So can you be a little bit slower?
Okay, sure. So that particular technology is also getting traction, and this is what I mean. You guys must have heard that Varaha sold carbon offset forward contracts to Google and then Microsoft as well. This is the technology range which they are looking at the moment, and this is where we have been building large-scale industrial gasification plants from which they are also buying. Then there is a third range which is cropping up now, which is called, I mean, in the market, we call it low tech, high tech, and now there's something called mid tech, right? In the mid tech, these are also kins, but closed kins, wherein you basically are able to make use of syngas for sustaining the pyrolysis process. You're not able to recover energy out of it, but you are not also emitting substantial methane from it. So something in between, right? If I talk about benefits in low tech and mid tech, is like closer location to biomass, less transportation required for biomass. The benefits for high tech is that you basically are able to make use of the energy there which otherwise is getting lost in low tech and mid tech, right? So that's the benefit, but there are some downsides. In low tech, you basically have associated methane risks, which a lot of folks are not comfortable to buy. In high tech, you incur a lot of transportation cost, and biomass also needs to be processed before you feed into it in a flowable form, right? Either you have to briquette it, you have to pelletize it, or if not, if the biomass is suitable to use directly as well, there are very few biomasses which fit the criteria, and hence the whole cost element when you look into it, the economics element when you look into it, is basically a little on a higher side. Now, India is very evenly posed to basically play a very, very instrumental role in overall biochar based carbon projects. And just to give you an understanding, right, there is an estimate that additionally, every single year, we are basically emitting out more than 45 gigatons of CO2 equivalent into atmosphere every single year, right? And that is the problem we have to solve for. It is more or less estimated that the decarbonization efforts happening all around the world, by 2050 we will be able to reduce this 45 billion tons to somewhere around 10 to 15 billion tons. And this 10 to 15 billion tons is going to be residual emissions, which basically is very hard to abate, right? And when you talk about 10 to 15 billion tons, this is just an estimate which basically a lot of folks have focused upon, that if this is so hard to abate, how will the earth achieve the net zero journey which we all want to take as a group, right? So, and hence, removals like biochar are expected to play a very instrumental role in a, so that this basically will be able to sequester equivalent amount of 10 or to 15 gigatons of CO2 equivalent, so that overall the world can become net zero. So this is the whole picture of CDR, which is called carbon direct removal, carbon durable removal, which basically wants to sequester around 10 to 15 billion tons of very hard to abate, very residual emissions, which the world will function, let's say, post we achieve this this targeted 2015 at zero, for the world. Now, just how potential is biochar in this particular bit? At the moment, globally, carbon markets, 94% of all deliveries are happening around biochar removal, right? All CDR deliveries, 94% of these deliveries are happening around biochar. So it's already proven that this basically can actually scale very, very significantly. Just to give you some more context on this, the overall potential of biomass generation for our Earth in a year is roughly estimated to be around 150 gigatons, right? And as I said, the problem statement is for around 10 gigatons. So if we are somehow able to, right, store and sequester what 1/50th 1/15th of whatever biomass we are sequestering in the world, we can solve the problem today itself. But having said that, this is much easier said than done, right? The 150 gigaton biomass CO2 equivalent, which world biomass sequesters, around 149 gigatons from this basically goes back into atmosphere through forest fires, through residue burning, through normal carbon cycle, right? These are basically a carbon cycle which is going on. And the overall, if you look at biochar, it's basically a bioengineered solution to stop the normal carbon cycle, wherein the biomass was supposed to decay or burn and go back into atmosphere. We are basically avoiding it to not go there and stay in our soils for thousands of years. This is what we are going to cause. And with this particular insight, it becomes extremely clear that with very equally distributed agriculture pattern all across the country, with more than 15 agroeconomic climate zones, and with abundance of agri residues all across, and a lot of invasive species problems as well, the country, India particularly, sits on an opportunity wherein we have access to, one, a lot of biomass, two, a lot of cheap labor to basically get this sorted for a climate action, right? And three, very hot and dry climates, which basically can reduce the biomass moisture content to levels which basically becomes suitable from lesser methane emissions in an artisanal community-led biochar production system, as well as for an industrial project wherein you don't have to waste a lot of energy. this methane emission, this moisture content in the biomass. And the overall empowerment, largely because of the end use case of biochar into smallholder participation, is the key here, right? And this is basically uh, what I believe basically creates a very large opportunity for the country, for India to act and to basically provide a lot of support in terms of getting carbon credits created. A lot of MRV, which is like measurement, reporting, verification systems, and a very important for carbon credit generation, right? This ecosystem is also evolving, and with the kind of IT expertise and a cheap ID products which India can also basically create at scale. This basically again opens up a lot of opportunity for startups like Varaha to come in and play a very huge role in this whole decarbonization effort. I'll go back into another possibilities of biochar to basically provide other decarbonization support to, let's say, some industries like steel and all, but will bring this element into discussion at the end of this like presentation, and then talk about some other ways to monetize biochar as an opportunity apart from carbon markets as well. Now, the most important element here is not to make biochar, right? Of course, there's a process to make biochar. You need to follow that. You have to basically demonstrably collect biomass, arrange for the whole supply chain, put it back to soil. This is fine, but only producing biochar and doing all of this thing is not enough, right? Um, in the carbon markets, the most important element is the measurement, reporting, and verification system. And by the very design of the requirements of carbon registries to allow carbon credit generation, these measurement, reporting, and verification systems needs to be like digital in nature, and wherein in real time you can also assess the quality and overall actualness of whatever you are doing on the ground, right? So your systems needs to be created in a system wherein you basically are able to report every single activity through like digitally, and provide an evidence which is hard to refute. When I say hard to refute, this is true for in front of first the auditor, who is going to audit the whole system, but also to the in front of the registry. And then this is also not enough, right? This will lead to carbon credit generation, but now buyers, because of the reputational risk which comes around greenwashing and all of that, if in case the project do not happen to do the whatever is claimed, right? There's a lot of risk which buyers are also facing, and hence they have built in a very large own due diligence teams to basically look at all these DMREV elements, and hence making sure that whatever you do on the ground is basically of high quality and high impact, right? Uh, in terms of getting a project sold to somebody like, let's say, Microsoft and Google, it's very important that first the particular biomass type needs to be, I mean, and all the other counterfactuals of that particular biomass, right? If there's a good use of any biomass, that particular biomass good use basically then starts acting against the carbon elements into it. Just to simplify, having said that, absolutely waste biomass can only be used to create carbon projects, right? And this is why it is very important that every biomass which we collect needs to be sustainable. I mean, we need to prove sustainability. It should not happen that trees start getting felled to basically make biochar. Um, the idea is not to basically permanently log
Seems there is an internet issue at
semi-permanent
Kaushalji's
carbon which is there in
place.
the biomass to going to come that have already started there, and bring it to this particular location. And very integral element of now there are certain biomass which fit this. Is there a question, Shivaji?
Kaushalji, your internet is not stable. Your voice is suddenly speeding up and suddenly slowing down, and it's disconnected. Just check the internet. The people are not able to listen to you. If it is mobile, just broadband is there.
Hello?
Just check the speed. If broadband is available. Some internet problem. We are unable to hear you. Can you disconnect and connect again? Kaushalji, can you hear me?
Kumarji looks like he's no more connected to the call.
Yeah. He has to just get reconnected.
So because of that, the speed is more.
Speed is varying, sir. Suddenly it has become fast. Yeah, we'll shoot this in the recordings. Once the session is over, it will take 1 to 1.5 hours. But recording will not be sent immediately. It has to be edited. It takes time.
Am I audible now, sir?
Yes, audible.
Yes.
Okay.
Kumarji.
Yes.
So let me share again.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Just questions you can take afterwards at the end of the session.
Yeah, that is my question. Whether to ask as and when I have a doubt or end of
No,
the
you
session.
just write down and we'll have a question and answer session.
In chat box, you give it. At the end session, we will open for.
Yeah, Arif sir will coordinate the question and answer session.
Yes.
Okay.
So just to continue from here, right? So there are some biomass types in India which basically fits all the criteria excellently well, right? And these include, let's say, rice parali, paddy parali, rice husk in areas wherein rice husk is not going for any other boiler use already. So there's not an existing market for rice husk. Then it basically qualifies. Then cotton stock, a lot of cotton stock all across India, be it Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, MP, it gets burnt every single year. And hence it is also an excellent source to use. There is a lot of cashew pods, coconut shells, which can also be used to create high quality biochar, and then which also basically meets all the eligibility conditions for the biomass. Now, the every single batch, or even if it is continuous process, right, the DMRV needs to be designed in a way that every single kg of biochar, you should be able to digitally prove as well that you have produced it. And this needs to be an integral part of your MRV as well, right? The auditors, the registry, and then the buyers are also going to look at this particular data on an random basis. And this can only be proven for a large scale project if you have this traceability available for every single day. And the most acceptable outcomes, which basically buyers are now more and more ready to agree, is that if you can capture every single day's production through a live camera feed as well, so that there is no opportunity to misreport. Every single vehicle which you fill, you put into a pot or a pit wherein basically you compost it, or whatever action you do post production of biochar, that particular thing should be verifiable. And the whole track of the year-round production, you should be able to submit to anybody's random quality check. Then the biochar going back to soil is something which is also very important. The soil temperature is also very important, and there are multiple registries with multiple protocols which determines the permanence and the carbon fraction in biochar, and how many carbon credits per ton of biochar will come, and it depends upon biomass type, where is it going, and all of that. Farmer level data on their farms, what crops they are doing, how much tons of biochar went to this particular farmer, their mobile number, their unique identification number, and then through, let's say, having people to call them and verifying whether they have basically received biochar or not. This is kind of trace and trail is required for a carbon project to basically provide end-to-end proof of the biochar actually going back to soil and going not ending in any furnace anywhere in the world. As I said, right, these are like largely artisanal and industrial reactors, which we basically have built in, but then there are a mid-tech version, which is basically getting built right now. The images are proprietary and I am not in a position to share it, but there are in-field applicable smaller kilns which emit zero methane, but almost zero methane, but also do not have a disadvantage wherein we have to ship the biomass for longer distances. Now, I mean, the uniqueness of what our proposition right now, whatever we have done is on the whole DMRV front, wherein I mean, not only H by C ratios for permanence, we have also put in a lot of research into identifying what all other elements also provide impact upon the permanence of that particular carbon which we sequester. But the larger part of I mean, the puzzle which we are still not able to solve is on how can we co-locate more and more plants in vicinity of biomass availability, which can consume the syngas in form of either steam, either uh, electricity, or maybe state level interventions, like particularly for states like Punjab, Haryana, UP, when there's a lot of parali available and with a lot of potential to produce electricity out of it. And I can go to and I can brief out on a little bit on these numbers on in terms of what is the potential of kilowatt hour productions per ton of biochar that we can also have. But the larger idea is that if the state governments or even central government can basically follow, this is a huge untapped opportunity from biomass to power. Now, this is again sorry, some of basic stuff which I will basically ignore because I think majority of you folks know. And in terms of our business use case with local communities over last 3 years now, we have produced roughly around 75,000 tons of biochar. This basically is with zero cost from the community. We pay for every single thing in this. Provide upfront payment, machines, getting this biochar collected, processed, converted into biochar, the DMRV cost, and then this biochar going back to soil. Everything is done at our own expense. And then we basically make our business from the carbon markets. We get carbon credits and then we sell them, and this is our profit, right? There are other models available as well, wherein if in case, let's say, some empowered community wants to buy their own machine, one small entity running it on their own, aggregating this on their own. We also do revenue sharing based models, wherein our work is from carbon quantification and then providing services to sell these carbon outcomes. And against that, we take a fixed cut on success, and no cost gets incurred from our end beforehand. It's everything which is basically after we create value, and then we basically make a margin on that particular value. Benefits again, I'll miss because you all are part of this particular biochar group and you know majority of it. So I'll just avoid going there. This is the one use case which I was talking to about. This is basically, for example, any particular machine or manufacturer, let's say food processing industry, or let's say dairy, for example, right? They basically require daily energy to produce steam, which they use for pasteurization or even milk drying. Then they are right now burning a lot of coal, which they run upon. And if in case they have a vicinity, because dairy units, be it private sector or even cooperatives, they are closer to agricultural geographies. The idea is that this coal can be displaced through biomass briquettes, pellets, or even if this is woody biomass, you can directly small chips can also displace. But the syngas, which is like volatile, not stable, which you can't control, that can basically start converting into energy, and then the biochar basically gets condensed, and then you can again route to the same agricultural economy, and hence achieve a perfect circular economy in action. There are two success cases which we have already achieved in this particular bit, and we are right now exploring with one very large dairy in Gujarat as well. So very early signs to that this particular model use business case will also very rapidly scale in future. Another, which from a carbon perspective, which allows is an application in real estate and construction, right? Road construction, even concrete mix is something which is now already proven. But having said that, we have received very, very little success till date in this particular bit. Wherein we have get a lot of success is landscaping. So a lot of, for example, golf courses, stadiums, and airport landscaping, right? A lot of bed creation application for biochar is already happening there. And this, because this is ending up in soil and is fairly permanent from that particular lens, is basically an approved use case for creating carbon credits here as well. So I think I have, yeah. So I will take a pause here and maybe, uh, then specific to your questions, then I can talk about the potential to basically a lot of these things which I have not spoken in detail about how to avoid forest feedstock and all of that. All of these apps, how to capture data, how to establish that the biomass is sustainable, and then the end use is also sustainable. It's not going to, let's say, a landfill or some, or have a chance to get incinerated in very short time. All of that particular bit we somehow wants to, avoid. But specific to your questions, I can later answer these as well. So I'll take a pause here, and very happy to answer any particular questions that you have to follow.